May the words of my lips and the meditations of all our hearts be always righteous in your sight. Amen. So, we're halfway through Advent, and our minds are looking towards the big day, when we celebrate Christ's arrival at his birth in Bethlehem. What a fantastic occasion that must have been, and what a gift for all humanity Jesus actually is. Which is why, when reading our Old Testament reading this evening, I wonder who decided to be the buzzkill as we're gearing up to the excitement of the season. As I open the Bible to review the reading, the title it's given is Social Injustice Denounced. At least that's how the NRSV translation puts it. The New International Version adds drama with the titles Woes and Judgements. The author of Isiah explains 6 woes with the society of the day. The first is the sin of desiring goods and oppression. We humans want more and more. Bigger houses, more land, a new car, and we cannot be satisfied with what we already have. It's telling in our own country, where the wealth that haves have compared to the have-nots goes beyond even a desire to be well off. The top 1% of wealthy people in this country greatly outweighs the wealth of the majority of the population, where 1 in 4 children today are in poverty-stricken households. It seems we want as much as we can possibly attain until nothing else is left, regardless of the impact that has on those poorer in society. This ties nicely with the second part of oppressing one's neighbours, as you can only get more by ensuring those around you don't have quite as much. In a society with finite resources, to gain ourselves, we must take from others. At the time this was written, it was land which was the livelihood of others, as well as their living space. If you take their land, you make them destitute. That leaves the only means left for them to survive is to work for the new owner, effectively making them a slave on their own land. The author of this reading doesn't rest here, however. He moves on to a second woe, that being debauchery. Here are the people who burn the candle at both ends in order to maintain a schedule of fun and free living, the pursuit of personal pleasure and happiness at the expense of those around. In the text, these are the people who wake early with a craving for drink and stay up late to fill an insatiable thirst. The unrestrained man pursuing sensual pleasure. Pleasure of the flesh is all that drives him. The third woe is deceit. We don't have here another group of people with a different sin from the others. Rather, they accomplish the other sins through lying, trickery, hypocrisy. I don't know how you voted in the recent elections, but if you ask many about who they voted for, the answer is often, well, they're all as bad as each other. They're all dishonest and never follow through on election pledges. In the recent elections, with independent fact-checking services identifying hundreds of adverts from political parties, at best bending the truth, the desire for power and gain at the expense of a pesky truth seems to be something that even today is weirdly acceptable. However, even in our own lives and away from politics, are we true to ourselves, or do we lie to ourselves to justify our beliefs or actions, as accepting the truth in the world around us is uncomfortable for us to face? That moves us nicely into the fourth woe, as by lying to ourselves we soften what bad actually means, and can even suggest that bad can be good. It's one thing to act poorly and admit that it is bad, but it is quite another to act badly and proclaim it is good. But it's clear to see how this happens. If you lie enough, and enough people believe it, that lie, over time, somehow becomes truth. Apologies for getting back to politics again, I'm sorry. But how is it acceptable for lies and omissions by political parties to go by without apparent notice and become the accepted norm? How are we able to turn what was once regarded as evil into being regarded as good? Well, that's easy. We've made man as wise as God. Harking back all the way to the beginning in Genesis, it's the fifth woe. From the first bite of the forbidden fruit, and man now knows the difference between good and evil. Man is then able to be devious and explain away how black is actually white, how bad can be justified, and thus become good. That's not for us to say, it's for God to dictate. But it doesn't stop us from trying. Indeed, this is perhaps the greatest illustration of our foolishness, that we can regard ourselves as being wise. We end with a sixth woe, a mockery of what is good. We should defer to the saints who have done great deeds before us. Nobody can argue that Mother Teresa wasn't a noble and good person and deserves the title of saint. But how far do we take that? In the world today, do we aspire more to a film or television star in preference to those who dedicated their lives to helping others? We should be reserving the title of champion or hero for those who do great deeds. Now these titles are claimed by those who exceed in personal indulgence and who take pride in their feats of indulgence and spurn justice to finance their excesses. Isaiah is giving us a picture of people who have plunged into wickedness with abandon. Shame is put aside unless it is shame in not abandoning restraint. But how did it happen to the people of Judah? Is it not the same way our own society is there too? The Israelites sinned for the same reason that we do today. We continue to have a nature that's not aligned with God. We seem to always choose to sin if we're left to our own devices. We like sin. What differs between sinners and upright people on the whole is a willingness to practice self-restraint. Sinners mock the upright by accusing them of desiring the same thing, and actually that isn't false, but that's where the faithful recognize a need for restraint. The hearts of us all contain wickedness. We all have a desire for the shortcut, and in many cases take it, even though it's not the right choice to have made. But it is because we do have regard for what we understand of Christ through the Bible, because we trust the wisdom of God over our own foolishness, that we put our natural instinct to sin in check. It's not the full picture, though. Practicing restraint may produce an outwardly upright life, but what is required is a heart in the same state as putting a hold on wickedness. It's not the same as replacing it with righteousness. It's the question of, do you do 40 miles per hour through the forest because you care about the local wildlife you put at risk by travelling too fast? Or because you're worried that you might be caught speeding and incur a personal fine? Isaiah does not describe these 6 woes to make people shape up. Rather, he pronounces them to turn the people back to God for redemption. They need to be redeemed, not merely reformed as judgment is upon them, and no amount of self-reform will save them. In precisely the same way that it won't save us either. And here we come back to Advent and the promise of Christ at Christmas. We need the sacrifice of Christ to wipe our guilt away, as we're unable to overcome without it. Advent is a time to consider and to look forward, looking forward to a time of hope in the redemption of ourselves through Christ and our faith in him. We cannot, when our time comes, stand before God and say, "See how good a person I was." Rather, our hope is that Jesus Christ will speak on our behalf through our faith and desire to follow in his model.